Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I always have to give a disclaimer because these cases are interesting and sometimes, I don't know who's able to handle what. So I'm always going to give a disclaimer, guard your loins because these folks are crazy. Okay, let's get into it. Okay, so this guy that we're talking about today, he was different. Okay, so this guy was responsible for abducting, raping, and unaliving at least 17 women between the years of 1972 and 1983, which is about 11 years ish. He was just not a good man at all. And I said was because once again, the loser kicked the bucket already before he had a chance to rot. Ugh, bummer. All right, who exactly is this creature? Let's dig in. This guy's name was Robert Hansen. Robert Hansen was born in Estherville, Iowa on February 15th, 1939. He was the eldest of two children. His mother's name was Edna Margaret Hansen, née Peterson, born October 27, 1916, and was deceased April 24th, 2005. And a Danish father, a local baker named Christian Hansen, born September 16, 1907, deceased August 12, 1983. Robert's dad owned a bakery where Robert also worked. His family moved to Richmond, California in 1942, but then, for whatever reason, they returned back to Iowa in 1949, and this time, instead of Estherville, they settled in Pocahontas. Robert was said to be painfully shy and he had a stutter and he suffered from severe acne, which left a lot of scarring on his face. Not good. He's not gonna get no girls. Throughout his childhood and adolescence, he was described as a quiet loner who had a difficult relationship with his father, because his father was more on the domineering side of things, whereas his mom was a very warm and loving person. So he did not have the greatest of relationship with dad. It was even reported that Robert was left-handed and his dad forced him to use his right hand. That in itself may not necessarily be a terrible thing, but I don't know what kind of strategy or method his dad used to get him to switch. We don't know. Anyways, sadly, I don't think that he was a loner by choice. Okay, I think he had a lot going on. He wasn't like the smartest person in the classroom, and his face was probably horrible from all the scars due to his acne, and things weren't so great at home. So, he was going through a lot. I can only imagine what this little mind of his was processing. And then on top of everything that he has to deal with, he has to go to school and be bullied by all these kids. So yeah, I don't think homeboy was trying to be like, yeah, I don't like you, stay away from me, I'm just gonna be in my corner. I think he just didn't have nobody. He didn't have a whole lot going for him, and he didn't have no choice but to sit by himself and eat alone and just basically be a loner, which is sad for any kid going through, school and whatnot, because when you're this young, you have no idea who you are. You're trying to figure it out, and people don't like you, and it's just not a good place to be. It's not a good place to be at all for anybody. But Robert, to cope with all of this, he decided to start practicing hunting and archery, and he stated that he ended up finding refuge in those activities. In 1957, which would make him about 18 years old, he enlisted in the United States Army Reserve. Oh, there we go again, is what I'm saying. I just said this every time, military, and they would serve less than 2 years. What's up with that? Almost all the cases I've covered so far, I think but one, the perpetrator didn't go to the military for a short period of time and then get discharged. That's crazy. Anyways, he enlisted and served for about 20 months before he was discharged. Okay? And after his discharge, he was employed full-time at his father's bakery, and he later worked as an assistant drill instructor at the police academy in Pocahontas, which is where he then began a relationship with a young woman who he ended up marrying in the 1960s, the mid 1960s. Now, although he had a job and the wife, and things were seemingly going right for Hansen, he was still not satisfied, okay? He felt like he needed to get revenge on those people who made fun of him or didn't like him in his younger years. Sir, can we move on? Can we grow up? You're a whole grown person with a job and a relationship. Can we focus on that? Oh, no. He came up with a plan. And what was that plan, you ask? Mr. Sir here, he decided that he was going to set the bus barn on fire. Yeah, the school buses with all the gas tanks. Yeah, those ones. He decided he was going to set them on fire. So yeah, he did just that. It didn't say that, anybody got hurt or anything. I couldn't find anywhere where it said that. And unfortunately for him, it wasn't long until they connected the dots and put him at the crime scene. Yeah. And he confessed to arson and he was sentenced to 3 years in prison, but he only served about 20 months. During that time, though, his wife was like, yeah, no, we're not gonna do this. And she bounced. She left him. Good for her. Anytime these wives or girlfriends jet, I'm very happy for them because these folks are not it. So then after the bus incident and the incarceration situation, his family was like, well, mostly his dad, really. His dad was like, yeah, you are embarrassing us. So it's not funny. So they sold the bakery, they packed everything up, and they moved to Minnesota while homeboy was still in jail. But sadly for the dad, he would join them later after he got released from prison. While in Minnesota, Robert met another young lady whom he would end up marrying later and have 2 children with. I feel bad for her. He also had like other odd jobs here and there. He was at some point in time the manager of a bakery, and then he started like stealing. Huh? What is wrong with you, sir? Why would you? Okay. So over the next couple of years, he would be in and out of jail for petty theft and just stealing little things here and there. And in 1967, I guess he got tired of getting in trouble. He decided to pack his entire family and move to Alaska, which is where things really took off for him. It is believed that Hansen started unaliving people around 1972, and the way he would do this is that he would stalk the women, and those were like exotic workers mostly. He literally would kidnap them and grape them, torture them, and then release them into the wilderness. Because remember when I said he practiced archery, hunting, and all that good stuff? So he would release them into the wilderness, and then he would hunt them as if they were animals. That's sick. And he would then shoot or stab them. Dysfunctional. Anyways, his fascination was with sex workers. Then it turned into any woman who like literally looked his way, even for a split second. As a result, on November 15th, 1971, he literally made eye contact with this 18-year-old girl that was driving home. The girl politely smiled and waved, and the creep took that as an invite and followed her home. What? So he asked her to use a telephone book to make a phone call, and so she let him in. Ooh, I just don't know why you would let a complete stranger in your house like that when you're alone. That was not a very wise decision. Anyway, so while he was inside, he proceeded to ask her out. She then declined and said she had a boyfriend, and he left. But we all know homeboy was upset. He was not happy with the rejection. So a week later, he came back and tried to abduct her by grabbing her and putting a gun to her head and telling her not to scream or he was going to shoot her. However, she screamed anyways, and thank God she did, because it literally saved her life. Her roommates heard and saw what was going on, so they called the police, and homeboy fled the scene. He was, however, oh my gosh, my voice is still so bad, y'all. I'm so sorry. I have a moment where it's cleared, and then there are times it's just like not working. Like right now, it's not working. It gave up on me. So bear with me. He was apprehended a little bit later, but unfortunately he was released on bond on December 2nd, 1971, while he waits for another hearing. Now, I'm thinking, why would you not make his bond a little bit higher so that he couldn't pay it? Legalities. About 2 weeks after he was released on bond, on December 19th, 1971, he kidnapped an 18-year-old exotic dancer, okay? He drove her out to some weird motel where he proceeded to grape her, and he had every intention to unalive her. But the girl pleaded with him to keep her alive and that she wouldn't say anything to anyone. And thank God she was able to convince him, and he released her. She did end up going to the authorities, and he did get charged with that case as well. And he had to go to trial for both of those cases. However, the second girl didn't do so well on the stand. I don't know if she was like intimidated by Hansen, but she didn't do so well, and her charges ended up not sticking. So he was only convicted for one of those charges. And on March 24, 1972, he was sentenced to 5 years in prison. But then again, after only serving 3 months of his 5-year sentence, he was transferred to a halfway house. Whose dumb decision was this? Was this guy walking around looking like an angel? Like, what is going on here? Why are we being so soft on this guy? Why was he being given so much credit? That's weird. And just when you think that they couldn't get any dumber, they did, okay? On November 1st, 1973, less than 2 years later, he was released on probation. That's crazy. So then Robert got into some trouble after that, where he stole a chainsaw, and he served longer for stealing that chainsaw than he did for assaulting these women. Talk about backwards. Yeah, so as I was saying, he did get into some more trouble after that, but his first actual killing didn't happen until 1979. He picked up this exotic worker, and they went in the woods to exchange their transaction, okay? And somehow the car got stuck, and they got into an altercation, and he ended up stabbing and unaliving her. He said that he was shocked, and he went home and cried. But was he really? Did he really feel bad? Yeah, I doubt it, because a few weeks later, there was yet another victim. In November 1981, another young lady went missing. So this 23-year-old was set up by Robert, who posed as this photographer and promised her a lot of money for a photo shoot. She went to meet with this photographer, and she was never seen again. Her body was found 10 months later. That's not it. On June 13, 1983, he picked up yet another 17-year-old exotic worker. He offered to take her to his house, but she declined, saying that she was not comfortable because I guess she was new to the city and she just didn't know anyone like that. So she told him that she wasn't comfortable going to his house, and it would be better if they just handled business like in his car. So then she, got in a position to start performing, and out of nowhere, he put a gun to her head, and he handcuffed her and drove her to her house, where he proceeded to grape her. He had planned to do further things to her and potentially unalive her, but thankfully she was able to escape, and she got some help from a truck driver, and thank God, because that's how she made it out. She went to the police and gave him a description of his basement and told him exactly what happened, okay? So they got a warrant, went to his house, and when they got there, the basement was exactly as she described it. And you would think like, yes, case closed. Yeah, no. They just stayed dropping the ball, these people. So they decided, okay, that there was not enough evidence to convict homeboy, because they treated the case as a he said, she said. Yeah, it wasn't enough to hold up in court. So homeboy was let go. But thank God there was like some people with a brain on this task force, because they did not agree with whoever the airhead was that made that decision to close the case. And they convinced that person that Robert Hansen needed to be on their list of suspects. Keep an eye on the guy, because bodies kept turning up left and right. And then you have this one eyewitness, and you're not wanting to investigate homeboy or keep a closer eye on him. On September 2nd, 1983, they discovered yet another body. And this time, thanks again to the diligent work of those two, they were able to get another warrant for his properties, and they found stuff, okay? They found the gun matching the shell cases at the crime scenes. And Robert, he liked to keep souvenirs, so they found a box containing keepsakes that linked him directly to the victims. On February of 1984, he agreed to take a plea deal. Okay? They would only charge him for the murders that they already know about in exchange for him confessing to everything. And he did just that. He confessed to unaliving 17 women and raping about 30. It's believed that he may have unalived anywhere from like 21 to 37 women, but he was only charged for 4 of them because they couldn't prove it, even though it's clear. I know he did it. I just know he did it, but they could only prove the 4. So those are the 4 that he was charged with. And in the end, Robert was sentenced to 461 years in prison without the possibility of parole. But yeah, that is all I have on this person right here. This creature was just very different, okay? I can't say certain things on here, you know? I have a few choice words that I could use to describe homeboy, but I am a little limited, okay? Yeah, so what do you guys think? Do you think that there's enough evidence in his childhood to have turned him into this monster? Also, I want to mention that he was diagnosed with manic depression and periodic schizophrenic episodes. And it was said that he had a childlike infantile personality where he would have to get revenge if he felt like you wronged him. Okay, so imagine just living your life and someone decided that they're going to feel that you have wronged them, and they've decided to make it their life's mission to get revenge on you, to make you pay. That's crazy, because to these folks, perception is reality. All they have to do is feel that you hurt them or that you wronged them, and then it's on. And this is another one of those cases where I'm like, we knew what was wrong with this person. Why were they roaming the streets with the rest of the humans? Schizophrenia? Really? Schizophrenia. Homeboy could have been hearing voices telling him to do some of these things, and he was like technically diagnosed. We need to do better. We need to do better, because so far all these people that I've covered, mental health issues. Mental health issues. I'm not saying that excuses their behaviors. I'm not saying that gives them a pass for their gruesome crimes. But come on, who really is failing these victims? It would suck for someone to be sitting here like 50 years from now covering 2024 cases, just like I'm doing right now, and finding out all these folks dealt with some sort of mental health issues, and they were just, even after they were diagnosed, they were just allowed to just roam the streets because no one wanted to go the extra mile to prevent these people from existing and functioning like they were normal members of the community. Anyways, that is all I have for you guys today. Let me know what you think down below in the comment section, and if you guys have anybody in mind that you think I should cover, let me know in the comment section. As always, thank you guys so much for watching, and please don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe, and I will see you guys in my next one. But until then, I hope to see you in the comment section. Bye.